Sometimes the heart knows before the mind catches up. Emma wiped down table 7 for the third time that morning, her eyes drifting toward the corner booth where he always sat. For 6 months, the quiet man had ordered the same thing, black coffee and a blueberry muffin, always at exactly 9:15. At 25, Emma had served hundreds of customers at Sunrise Cafe, but none had captured her attention quite like him. "You are staring again," whispered Maya, her 24-year-old co-worker and closest friend, sliding up beside her with a knowing grin. Emma felt her cheeks flush. "I am not staring. I am observing." The man looked to be in his early 30s, always dressed simply in jeans and a button-down shirt. He carried a worn leather bag and spent most of his time reading or working quietly on his laptop. What drew Emma to him was the gentle way he treated everyone around him. He always said please and thank you, never complained, and left generous tips. Today felt different somehow. Emma had been thinking about him more lately, wondering about his life, his dreams, his story. When she brought his usual order, her heart pounded so loudly she was certain he could hear it. "Thank you, Emma," he said, glancing at her name tag with a warm smile that made her stomach flutter. "You are welcome, David," she replied, having learned his name weeks ago when he had briefly taken a phone call. As she walked away, Emma made a decision that surprised even herself. On the back of his receipt, she quickly scribbled, "Your smile brightens my mornings. Hope you have a wonderful day. E." Her hands trembled as she placed the receipt beside his coffee cup, then hurried back to the kitchen before she could lose her nerve. David discovered the note when he paid his bill. Emma watched from behind the counter as his expression shifted from surprise to genuine warmth. He glanced around the cafe until his eyes met hers, and he nodded with a smile that made her heart skip. The next morning, he left his own note. "Your kindness makes this place special. Thank you for the sunshine. D." Thus began their secret correspondence. Emma learned that David loved old books, had traveled to 12 countries, and believed that small acts of kindness could change the world. He discovered that Emma was working to support her 16-year-old brother Jake, while putting herself through night school, dreaming of becoming a teacher. 3 weeks later, David surprised her by leaving his email address. Soon, they were chatting online late into the night. He used the name Dreads47, and Emma found herself falling for this mysterious man who seemed to understand her dreams and fears completely. Their online conversations grew deeper. David shared stories about feeling isolated despite being surrounded by people. Emma opened up about her parents' death 2 years earlier, about raising Jake while trying to build her own future. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday morning in October. Emma was refilling David's coffee when she overheard on a phone call that made her blood run cold. "Yes, the Jefferson Street location performing well," he was saying. "The staff morale seems high. I think we can move forward with the expansion plans." Emma's hand began to shake as the pieces fell into place. The way he observed everything so carefully, his expensive laptop, despite his simple clothes. The fact that he never seemed to be in a hurry to get to work. David Morrison was not just a regular customer. He was the CEO of Sunrise Cafe Corporation, the man who owned the entire chain. When he finished his call, Emma approached his table with forced calm. "More coffee, Mr. Morrison?" The color drained from his face. "Emma, I can explain." "Can you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because for months, I have been pouring my heart out to someone I thought was real. Someone I thought cared about me as a person, not as an employee to be evaluated. That is not what this was." David stood, reaching for her hand, but Emma stepped back. Was any of it real? The notes, the emails, the late-night conversations about our dreams? "All of it was real," he said desperately. "My feelings for you are completely genuine. I never meant for it to go this far, without telling you the truth." Emma felt tears burning her eyes. "You let me tell you about struggling to pay rent while you were deciding whether to expand your multi-million-dollar company. You let me worry about keeping this job while you were my boss the entire time." That evening, Emma sat in her small apartment with Jake and Maya, trying to process what had happened. "So he is rich and powerful," Jake said, looking up from his homework. "That does not make him a bad person, Em. It is about the lies. I was completely honest with him, and he was playing a role. Maya squeezed her hand. Maybe he was scared too. Maybe he liked being seen as just David. Over the next few days, David tried repeatedly to reach out, but Emma refused to engage. The magic they had built felt shattered by deception. Finally, he left one last note. I know I have lost your trust, but every word I shared came from my heart. You made me remember what it feels like to be human. I am sorry for hurting you. A week later, Emma received an envelope at home. Inside was a letter of recommendation for the teaching position she had applied for at the local elementary school, along with notification that her application had been accepted. There was also a scholarship fund established in her name for cafe employees pursuing education. The final item was a simple note. Your dreams matter more than my feelings. I hope you find the happiness you deserve. Always, David. Emma stared at the letter for a long time, her heart breaking and healing simultaneously. She realized that while David had hidden his identity, his care for her had been real. He had used his power not to manipulate her, but to help her achieve her dreams. 3 months later, as Emma prepared to start her teaching career, she wrote one final email to Dreads 47. Thank you for seeing me, even when I could not see you clearly. I hope you find someone who loves both sides of who you are. His response came quickly. You taught me that real connection is worth any risk. Thank you for the sunshine, Emma. Always. Emma closed her laptop and smiled through her tears. Sometimes love means letting go, and sometimes strength comes from knowing when a chapter has ended, even when the story was beautiful.